Yes, you read that title correctly. No, this is not clickbait. Now I'm not saying it's the best fight in the series, but Sakura vs Ino has long since been memed to death as the worst fight. And honestly, it's not even the worst fight in the Chunin exam preliminaries. At least it was an actual fight. And today I am ready to make the argument that not only is this fight not as bad as people say it is, but it's actually pretty good both in terms of showcasing ability and its meaning to the character of Haruno Sakura. This video was created in collaboration with Redditor and fanfic author Immigrant Writer, and his Naruto fanfiction should be linked below. A common, and incorrect, criticism of this fight is that the two of them are fighting over Sasuke. While there can certainly be words said about the original breakup of their friendship when they were younger, it's made abundantly clear that this fight isn't over Sasuke. The only mention of him is at the beginning when Sakura is trying to rile Ino up so she'll take the fight seriously. The crux of Sakura's development during the Chunin exams is the need for her to grow as a character and ninja and no longer require the protection of her two teammates. And in the Forest of Death, she took the very first step towards that goal by cutting the hair she grew out for the purposes of wooing Sasuke so that she would be able to try and defend her teammates from the Sound Genin sent to assassinate him. In Japanese culture, the idea of cutting one's hair is used to symbolize the end of one period of a person's life and the start of a new one. And so, after this very important first step in her journey, Sakura needed to overcome her next obstacle, confronting her rival and superior Ino Yamanaka. Another common method of downplaying this fight is the idea that both Ino and Sakura were the weakest people in the exams. However, this idea comes from two problems. The first of all is the assumption that a ninja needs to use flashy moves in order to win a fight, and people who read the story are kind of completely unappreciative to things like pure taijutsu battles, which is kind of ironic considering that later complaints about the show is that they started relying so much less on taijutsu battles on more on flashy stuff. But this idea is actually completely ridiculous when you look at the fact that Sasuke also doesn't do any flashy moves while he fights his opponent, whose power is literally to drain chakra out of them. He just beats him with taijutsu. The idea also comes from the fact that Ino was a match to Sakura, and people use it to downplay the fight while completely ignoring all the actual statements and showings of skill and strength on Sakura's part, because she's not as good as the powerhouses of her team and couldn't win a 1-on-3 fight against people sent to assassinate Sasuke and provided weapons by Orochimaru. This stems from the assumption that Sakura is weak, so whenever she shows any ability to be close to someone in power, they use it to push the person she's fighting down instead of raising Sakura up. I, however, believe that not only is Ino not a bad ninja, she would have been the actual Rookie of the Year if Sasuke wasn't in her class. This isn't outright stated in the story, but it becomes more obvious when one looks at the clues. For starters, we're told the teams are structured in order to balance their positions, which is the reason given for why Naruto, the dead last, and Sasuke, the top student, are on the same team. Well, Shikamaru was basically second to Naruto as the dead last, meaning one of his teammates needed to have been on the higher end. Plus, when you look at the grades of their class, Ino's are the ones that come closest to Sasuke's, and she even tests better than him in the personality aspects. Please note, this can't be everything, as there are other aspects they would have been tested on, such as Bukijutsu or weapon usage and strategy. There are also statements by Asuma and Rock Lee to back up Ino's skill as a ninja. Yeah, Shikamaru claims they are the weakest team in the exam, but he also claims Team 7 is the other weakest team, so I don't put much stock in what he says. With that established, we have Sakura, a character who, by the nature of the placement of the ninja teams, must have been an all-round average, if book-smart student, against the girl who probably would have come first if Sasuke wasn't in their class. But like Naruto, Sakura had improved a lot since their academy days. I was able to fight Ino on a more even field than one would expect. Her perfect chakra control allowing her to utilize her chakra more effectively than anyone else in her team. Maybe more effectively than any other competitor in the exam. I'd also like to point out that the actual strategy used in the fight was probably the third best used in the entire preliminary matches, behind Naruto's transformation to Trick Kiba and Shino's clogging up of Zaku's arms. Ino's fake out by cutting her hair, pretending to use the mind transfer jutsu, and replicating Shikamaru's technique with said cut hair is indeed a very clever strategy. Structurally, this fight is actually extremely similar to Wendy vs Sheria in the Fairy Tail's Grand Magic Games arc, where main character goes up against an opponent that all evidence indicates should be their superior, and they match attacks with one very clever use of tactics before they come down to a draw after a massive slugfest. Speaking of strategy, I usually have problems with the involvement of Sakura's inner self gag in her resisting the jutsu, but I honestly think it's generally harmless, and the gag itself could be removed without breaking the believability of Sakura escaping. The mind transfer jutsu can be escaped through sheer force of will. Couple that with Ino running out of chakra, Sakura's stated skill at mind techniques, and Sakura's own will and desire not to lose, it's not that bad an escape. Frankly, I like it a lot better than Naruto's fat saving him from Kiba. However, to bring things back to my mention of Sakura starting over from a new leaf, it's notable that she only escapes during the fight and not earlier during the written portion of the Chunin exams before she steeled her resolve. She now has a change of mindset and has grown as a person. And that's where the main point of the fight lies. It's Sakura going up against her superior rival using her newly acquired skills to even the playing field. That's why the fight is mostly 10 minutes of them beating the hell out of each other and refusing to back down until they run out of chakra. Sakura is actually doing something a lot similar to Naruto in that she wants to be taken seriously by her rival. Ino was always the person Sakura looked up to, so now Sakura wants to defeat her. However, the fight ended in a draw. While not the total victory Sakura was probably hoping for, not every fight can end with a win, especially when Ino's probably also been improving herself. The draw maintains the rivalry between the two kunoichi and shows that they are now on equal footing but still have room to grow. Of course, I'm not trying to say that this fight is perfect. We could have gotten a bit more setup to Ino and Sakura's relationship and Ino's skill before the fight really started. To go back to my Wendy and Shiria example, we already know God Slayers have an advantage over Dragon Slayers. But I do believe that this is easily the most underrated fight in the series, going by all the discourse surrounding it claiming it's the worst. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment your thoughts, subscribe for more content, check out Immigrant Writer's fanfiction, and thank you and good day.